Welcome to the Liz McMullen Show. I'm very excited about today's show. We have video rather than just audio. That's extra exciting because we have the two lead actresses in the stage version of Vanda's novel, Juliana. I was really happy to get the opportunity to talk to all three women. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Yeah, I'm Annie Sage Whitehurst. I play Juliana in Vanda's Juliana. And I'm from the Hudson Valley, and I live in Astoria, New York.
And you're the cover girl.
I am, yeah.
She's on the cover of Juliana, folks. Like, we got famous people up in here. This is Vanda. She's our author. And she also has experience as a playwright. And Molly?
I'm Molly Collier. I am from New Jersey. I live in New York now. I play Al, who's the narrator of the story, falls head over heels in love with Juliana.
Can you blame her? Come on.
I was thinking the same exactly.
My funny story is that when I walked into the first day of rehearsal, when I first got asked to do it, I'm straight. I have a boyfriend, but I walked in. At the time, I didn't have a boyfriend. I walked in and I saw Annie, and I was like, well, if I'm going to know if I'm definitely straight, it's going to be because of her, I'm sure. She's so pretty.
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Anne Bannon is one of the first Pulp Fiction writers ever, right? And she's had a few different adapted screenplays of Bevo Brinker. And the last one that they did, I think it was either Seattle, somewhere on the West Coast, and her daughter saw the lead, you know, the one who's paying the butch, and she's like, I think I understand it all now. Because that was one baby butch. So I was looking at your resumes, ladies, and you have a little experience under your belt. All right. So tell me a little bit about your background, and also how did you get to know Vanda and about this project?
Yeah, well, I have an older brother who's been acting since I can remember, and I kind of followed in his footsteps. I'd go to rehearsals and do impressions, and finally convinced my mom to let me go and audition and everything. And it's kind of been that ever since. And I used to do musical theater, and then I thought I had a very competitive high school, and I thought that maybe musical theater wasn't for me. I couldn't really dance that well. I just, wasn't really something I was super passionate about. But I loved it in a way. I went to a liberal arts college, and while I was there, I learned about contemporary theater, and that started to interest me more and more. So I kind of went down that rabbit hole. I found Lambda, and I did a summer program there. I learned about physical theater, and now I work at Labyrinth Theater Company, which produces new plays mainly by Latin playwrights and or actors to give a voice to people who haven't had a voice in theater before. I think that's very, very important. So naturally, when I got Vanda's script, I was very, very excited. There's also this playwriting group called Oracles, and I would go because other playwrights would ask me to come and read their scripts. And when I was there, I remember hearing Vanda's script for the first time and thinking, that is so cool. It was another girl reading it, and I thought, this is really cool, this is really good writing. And I wanted to do it so bad. But, I'm kind of quiet sometimes before you get to know me, so I just sat back. And then one day I was the only girl there, and she handed me the script, and I was like, yes! I was, so ready for it. I was like, I'm going to kill it. And whenever I did it, yeah, and Vanda kept asking me to come back, and then finally asked me to join the cast in doing it at the duplex, and yeah.
So how about you? You have history in the Pioneer Valley.
I do, yeah.
It's really serious.
Very serious. I went to Smith in the Pioneer Valley, and when I was there, I also kind of came from a musical theater background, in that I went to a lot of theater summer camps and stuff, and I went to Nyack High School, and they were very intense about musical theater, and I realized this is not really the kind of story I want to tell. So while I was at Smith, I was combing through the libraries for everything I could find about queer theater, feminist theater theory, and I read all this cool stuff about Wow Cafe and about, the Ridiculous Theatrical Company. And growing up, my parents actually met because my mom was in one of the productions of, I think, Stage Blood that was touring. And so I grew up with all the, all the books about experimental theater and all the not traditional play volumes and stuff. But as soon as I came back to New York, I got started with Your Name Here, which is a queer theater company. And I did a reading there, and then Barbara Kahn from Theater for the New City came and talked to me after the show, invited me to do a reading with her at Theater for the New City. And then after that show, Vanda came to talk to me. And she gave me a card with the picture of what Juliana's cover was going to be then. And so I also went to the Oracle's Playwrights reading group. And when I first went, I read for Al. And I was like, oh, this is so great, man. Juliana is like such a cool character. But I, was a little bit younger and I was identifying a little bit more with Al. And I was like, I could never play somebody like that. And then she invited me back. And was like, we have to switch things up. We want you to read for Juliana. And so then from there we went to Stonewall, and then we went to the Duplex, and sit around there.
You guys had a wrap. Was it this week?
Yeah.
Yes.
Finished
last week.
Yeah.
Last the volume 1 we finished. That's this week.
But now we're back.
So how do you?
Yeah, so we're back.
We're still
volume
back.
2. We're up to volume 2 now. We're
Yeah.
starting to do
There's
that.
plenty left.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
You wrote a word or two, huh?
Yeah.
So how is it different? Well, explain how it works to read from a book rather than from a script.
That's right. I mean, I think this is probably seems like, for me being an actor, not involved in like the, the cutting and editing and staging, behind the scenes kind of thing. I feel like this is a very nice way to get started with it. I mean, Vanda's written such an amazing piece in the first person. And hearing Molly do it at the Duplex is just, it seems very natural. It doesn't seem, for me at least, like, this is like a very clunky adaptation or something.
Who does the narrative?
I'm the narrator. Al is the narrator. Sorry, I am. But yeah, it's a very different experience than anything I'm used to. It's kind of like, I kind of, in my head, I put it as sort of like a Shakespeare soliloquy where I get a moment to go talk to the audience. The difference is that Vanda has included so much about the fashion and what was going on with the times, with the war and everything, and it's all absolutely necessary to tell the story and to keep the time period truthful and keeping the audience aware of it. But it's hard as an actor to keep that active, I would say, or to keep people interested in that, or how to make them access it the same way that we are, because it's not a film, it's not a show where we have a huge set, we're doing it in a cabaret space, so that is what they're getting. So I want them to hear all of it. So that was probably the most difficult part, but I feel now after doing it for a long time that it's easy to slip into, and I love slipping out of the scenes. Annie and the other actors are fantastic, and it just makes it very easy to slip into the sort of realistic dialogue that Vanda's written.
How about you?
I mean, who wouldn't love to just kind of stand there and vamp while someone's describing how good they are? I got plenty of time to fill that. And the great thing too is that because Molly is doing, she's explaining the scene and pointing out all these details and the historically significant details that normally, I guess, you wouldn't think to actually name, but are so important to the story and the time period. It's great for me as an actor to just kind of have that time to look around and see the space, and it forces you to, really embody it a lot more than if it was just kind of like a, here's some dialogue and we're rushing it and it's going to be a cabaret show and it's going to be very quickly put together. I think it helps.
When you're doing a play, is it, because when you read a book, obviously you have the internal dialogue, and with few exceptions, I'm sure that there are internal dialogue moments in plays. But how do you do it when there is no internal dialogue, when you just have little directions and a vague idea about what they want? This person's coming this way, that person's coming that way. How do you create with that?
So there is internal dialogue.
There is?
So you read on my person's thoughts, Al's thoughts, the way she's feeling about things. Yeah, it's a lot of that. You can follow that.
Yeah. I mean, there's moments when I'll have I can't believe I just did that moment, and what am I talking about? Or
not in Vanda's play, but I was talking about in a traditional play, like the contrast between. You have this richness with Vanda's novel, with the dialogue and with the narrative. But when you're creating a play, you don't get all that information.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it different? Do you feel like you have a leg up because it's a book? Or, that it's different than the process you'd approach other plays that you've been in?
I would say with a traditional script, you have maybe what seems like a little bit more freedom to create that yourself and to find those moments and be like, I had this great discovery.
Yeah.
And then with this, I know that one thing in rehearsals has been, maybe ignoring a brief piece of stage direction or part of Al's narrative. And then Ray, who's been our director, will be like, well, it says that, so you have to do that. And it's like, at first it can feel a little bit like, well, we just do it because it's there. But we've been working with these characters for so long, and they're absolutely alive that it makes total sense,
Right.
It's instead of piecing together the life of the characters between, their lines, you get to kind of fill out more of the rest of the character because they say those lines or because they have that reaction. So you still get to do a lot of the fun work. It's just kind of presented a little differently.
Vanda, how about yourself? You've written plays and obviously talk a little bit about this project, that it's more than one book and whatnot. How's this a different experience for you?
The actual writing is not all that different. I do enjoy, I love language. I love language, and I really enjoy being able to describe stuff. And you can do a lot less in plays than you can, you go, that, and I end up cutting any of that stuff on the play because you want to go straight through. So I like having the time to do that in the book. But the actual writing of it, the experience of writing isn't different. What was different for me was the process of after the writing. The novel was much easier. The process, we went to an editor, that we discussed it, and it just was much more pleasant. Writing a play is horrible. It's wonderful while you're doing it, but when you take it to everybody else, oh my! It's just the experience is, everybody needs to get in and get their opinion and change it, and that's the attitude of the theater. How can we change it? That's one of the things. Like when you get a play updated, one of the times, sometimes people, the director or the producer will say, "Is she willing to revise?" I haven't read it yet. So, and of course you have to revise. That's a given. But the experience was so different. I think I may have just been lucky with this novel. I think that probably the experience can be just as difficult with a novel. I've heard people have had horrible fights with their editors. So writing a play it's fun until you have to take it to the world. It's kind of.
So you have more ownership over something as a novel, whereas it's more of community property when it's a play?
Yeah, or it feels it. People feel they own it, and who owns what. Now, I'm totally open to actors developing their characters, and if I think they go really far off, I will talk to the director about that. But most of the time, I'm open to what is discovered and what might be there. Actors are not a problem. Usually, it's not actors. No, it's I tell people, producers, audience, who will come up to you after a show and tell you how you can change your play. People in a public situation while you're sitting down having dinner, telling you how to change your play in front of everybody, that kind of stuff.
That would drive me crazy.
Yeah. If somebody would have read your novel and comes over to you and said, you shouldn't have had them go that direction, they should have gone the other direction, and you're sitting there having dinner, And the book is done. There's nothing you can change anyway. That kind of thing happens much more in the theater. I haven't had anyone tell me how to rearrange my characters or anything in the novel, but people feel very free to do that with a play.
You haven't experienced it, but I have, where readers will tell you that they found something, which is great because you want them to find something. When I'm the king of the castle, that's very easy for me to fix. It's not happening if it's through my publisher. Because they'll go like, oh, you know, this happened there, and you know, if it's your ebook, you can go through, tweak, and put it back.
What happened on Lucy's? What happened?
When somebody reads your work and finds something that doesn't make sense, or
mistake, like they happen,
or something that's unusual or whatever. But for the most part, how have you been finding your audience?
Very supportive. I've only had, actually, the reviews have been wonderful, and I've met people that I didn't know before who have told me their stories about people and their relatives who have been gay, and all of this kinds of confessional kind of things that I've met online. The audience has been great. I had one guy who complained that the sex wasn't sexy enough. And I went back and read over it because I've never had that complaint. I've had a lot of women tell me it was plenty sexy. And I'm reading it and I think, I think this might be a difference of gender.
I mean, I do want to say, these are the most historically accurate sex scenes I've ever read, down to like the buttons and the zippers and everything.
Oh yeah, for sure. You would never even think about that.
So, where is this project going from here? Because you're continuing. What kind of research are you doing? What kind of direction is it going in?
Okay, the next volume will cover 1945 to 55. And I'm looking at post-war situations. So the post-war era was a terrible time to be gay. It was a terrible time to be gay. So I'm looking at not merely McCarthyism, but just how it would be to be gay, and have the newspapers constantly telling everybody that these perverts are running around, you know, doing things to people and that kind of thing, and what it means to be coming out in a time like that. What's coming, and they don't have a term. There's no term coming out. So there's, you know, they don't know, and you don't know what's wrong with you, and there is a sense of wrongness about it. So I'm looking at all of that kind of stuff, and up until 55, and see how Al resolves this kind of thing. And the book itself, the series, is, I'm hoping to take it right to modern times. So there's going to be a lot of books.
How do your friends experience this particular project? Because obviously your friends come to see your work. What have their thoughts been relating to Juliana?
I have friends that have been coming since when we were our very first one at the Stone Ball a year or so ago, a year plus. And they really like it. I like it because I feel like it gives me the space to be that, you know, vampy femme fatale, so that maybe I'm not like that around them. I'm like a human. But they really like it, and they always come up to me and they're like, we learned so much. And I have straight friends that come and they're like, I had no idea. It's like, well, I remember having a conversation with you about this, but I'm glad, you know, this could bring it to life. So people seem to really enjoy it as entertainment, as, you know, like this fun cabaret kind of vaudevillian thing we put together, not vaudevillian, but, you know, performance. And then also something that's, you know, going to teach them something and show them in a very human way what that part of history was. And it's New York, you know, like you can walk around and be like, oh, this was in that episode, and, you know, this is the street that Al ran down, and everything is, you know, not all of it, but a lot of it's still there. And people love hearing about New York City in that time.
Especially New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, my best friend comes back every month since she started going, and she brought a friend from work who was so excited to hear that our latest show had been pushed back because she couldn't make the first one and then could make the second one. And so I'd say my friends, they look at it like a TV show even. Like they're just excited to come back and see what happens next.
So are you excited to continue on with this project? We're coming to the end of our time.
Yeah.
So what are some final thoughts that you have about acting within the novel? And Vanda, some of your thoughts about having this book and the duplex come alive for you?
That's such a time. I love it. I love it. I always loved theater, and to have both is wonderful. I love the idea of having all this good things about a novel, and then also have the performance aspect. And of course, we also include music from the time period, so it makes it all very exciting. I love it.
I'm super jazzed to be a part of it. We've been at Stonewall, we've been at the Duplex, we did a reading, we're going to Henrietta Hudson tonight, which I've also never been during the daytime. And we went to Blue Stockings and so many great historical places. And this is such an interesting story that I haven't really seen before in this way. I feel very lucky to be a part of it. So.
In the acting sense, I feel that it's helped me grow exponentially since we started. At least, like I was saying before, with the learning to how to contact the audience, how to get them to, ride with me on the journey as Al. It's been a really, really, really helpful experience in how to, keep an audience listening and to losing the words, but it's been a really, really great and helpful experience to me as an actor and as a person. I feel like my knowledge of the time period has it's gotten way more than I would have ever expected to know about that time period, and thus made me listen more today to people who have experienced it, and made me, because we still are fighting a fight, so fight that fight even more today to make sure that everybody has equal rights. And I hope that this book gets to touch even more people and have an effect on them like it did on me.
Well, this has been a fantastic time talking to you guys. And listeners, they did talk about Henrietta Hudson, which is where we're going next, and they're going to be performing a chapter from Vanda's novel, Juliana, and it's going to be in the daytime, and it's in the longest standing lesbian bar in New York City.
That's great. It's great to be there.
It's fantastic. So I'm very excited about that. I'm excited that you made time for me to talk today. It's great meeting you.